Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to The Disconnected. Last week, I promised a video of my rundown to my Los Angeles trip, and we are finally here for it. Spent some time trying to put together a nice gallery of pictures that I can go over and share some stories of what happened. So let me start sharing that for you now. So let's dive right into it. I had to get the stereotypical flying in view. These buildings, a lot of them looked fake from this angle. It was wild. Then flew over SoFi Stadium, which is where the Super Bowl was just played recently. Got off, and one of the first gas stations I saw, this was their prices with credit cards, $6.39 a gallon. Blew me away. And what's crazy, they're even higher now. Gas has gone up even more since I arrived. I can't believe it. Saw a donut shop, and then of course, just stereotypical. Anyways, thought that was a funny picture. That night for dinner, my very first night, I had these really great Korean barbecue fries. And when I first opened this and saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be spicy as hell with all these jalapenos. There was like no spice. Everything tasted great, but man, like no spice to the jalapenos. And I love spice. We're going to be talking about some hot things just a little bit. But man, I really wanted some spicy food. The very next day, I went down to Hollywood Boulevard, and this was my view while I ate lunch. I was overlooking Jimmy Kimmel Live right next to the El Capitan, and I was sitting right in front of the Chinese theater. This was my lunch. I had a really good bowl of ramen, super tasty, nice and fresh. This is the front of the Chinese theater. At the bottom here, they are hosting some sort of film festival when I was here at this time, and that's why these curtains are here. But on the inside, this is the first time I'd ever been inside of it. This was the view I got from the upper balcony there. And while I was here, I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once on the big screen finally. And I got to admit, it is one of the best films I've ever seen by a long shot. Following my trip to the Chinese theater, that doesn't matter. Let's just go right past that. I had to take a picture of the Pantages Theater. I had not been in LA in quite some time, and I always love going by the Pantages. It is just a really pretty place to see from far away, and I'd not been by it in daytime in a long time, so I was glad to be able to see it. Had to take a picture of one of my favorites, the GOAT, Jim Henson, of course. And the reason I was walking by the stars was to get to Amoeba, and they are now in a different location than I remember. They are now right on Hollywood Boulevard, about a mile walk from the Chinese theater. I was just stoked to be back in there. It had been a long time. I love the way that they organize some of their films. They even have a nunsploitation section. Hilarious. Like bike and drag racing. I mean, that's great cataloging. It was always great to see some of these titles in an actual physical media store together. Death Promise, She Freak, The Legend of Billie Jean, all great. Really great to see, Sansa Sangre from Severin right up there with the Godfather 4K triple feature. Yeah, just a whole lot to choose from. Even had a whole lot of VHS here. And then they had their really expensive out-of-print titles behind a glass door. I mean, Evil Town from Vinegar Syndrome for $150 in a store. My gosh. Way too much. But hey, if they can get somebody to buy it, more power to them. This is just another angle of the store. Loved being in there. There was a lot of people in there. Had to take a picture of their merch. I did not get any this time. I've got quite a few from the last time I was at Amoeba. They usually do pretty good stuff, but they are certainly overpriced. And I thought these were hilarious. They had all kinds of pop culture figures on these candles near the front. And then had to take a picture of one more goat that I passed by on the way back to the car. My man, Vincent Price. Gotta love him. After this, I went back to Jeremy Long's place, and we were getting ready to go to dinner that night. And we picked up some really good wings. I had the hottest buffalo wings that they had and spicy barbecue wings with these really good curly fries. Just nice, cheap, greasy dinner to have. Fully enjoyed it. Really good stuff. The next day, went to another mecca of mine. I really wanted to go to Dark Delicacies. People have been talking about this for years. I've been on their website hundreds of times. I'd never been in person, and I was just glad to finally be able to see them. and they had so much stuff on the inside. They had tons of horror board games. They had all kinds of pop culture, gifts and items and signatures from people that have been in there signing things for everybody else. Just so much to see. The entire store just chock full, top to bottom. Shout out to my friend Brian here, who went with me for the trip and spent most of the time with me. And yeah, this place was just a lot of fun. They do a lot of their signings where you can buy stuff online. So if there's something you're interested in, you can purchase it and they will send it to you after it is signed. And it's usually fairly inexpensive. So if you are interested in things like autographs, highly suggest checking their website for their schedule. I know that they were just about to do some signings for a Severin release. There is stuff coming up later in the year that I'm interested in. I'm really going to keep my eye closer on Dark Delicacies because they do so many great things. And in person, I could see if I lived around here, I would probably go broke very quickly. And the amount of signatures that they had in the store was insane. I mean, William Friedkin, everybody that you can think of on a lot of the posters, all of these action figures, really great stuff. And they even sold Halloween 2 boxer briefs. After Dark Delicacies, we made a trek to downtown Hollywood, to another part of LA, passed by Trejo's Coffee. You can see Danny Trejo's picture on the front of the door there, and I thought that was interesting to see in person. Drove by the New Bev Cinema. That night they were showing The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I was supposed to go see it, but time did not work out in my favor, and I did not get to that week, sadly, because we were going to lunch at El Coyote, the Mexican food restaurant that is featured in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You may remember that as the restaurant that Sharon Tate ate at in the film, and actually it is the same restaurant that the real Sharon Tate ate at before she was killed. And the lunch was fantastic, really well made. This restaurant's been around for like 90 years, really good stuff. And this is the part of the place where the scene from the movie was filmed. So I wanted to share that. And then on the way out, there are all kinds of headshots and signatures from people that have eaten in there. Had to take a picture of this one because I've always loved Bob Saget. So saw that picture and had to snap it. So they easily had more than 100 headshots. And this is a picture of me with Brian and one of the patrons of the channel. This is John. John had a really big impact on this day, but we're going to hear about that in just a moment. One of the other really cool things is I was born and raised in California and lived there a long time ago. And one of my closest friends, he still lives there. And I got to meet up with him. This is him. This is Will. I spent some time with him and his 2 daughters. We hung out at like a kids museum where they can, interact and play with all kinds of things. They had like a real beehive that you could look at. It was really cool. But the biggest thing, just first time being able to meet up with a friend that I haven't seen in, almost a decade, was fantastic. I really enjoyed that aspect. So back to John. One of the things he was able to do is John is the broadcast director for the New York Mets, who happened to be playing the Dodgers the week that I was in town. So based on that, John was able to get me some tickets to go see the Dodgers play the Mets. And I'd never been to Dodger Stadium. So this was really cool to see. Since I grew up in Southern California, I'd been to a bunch of Angels games, but never Dodger Stadium. So I'd always wanted to go. It was nice to be able to experience it. Had some nachos and some fries. I ate like shit on this entire trip. I am not going to redeem myself. I'm fat, and this is one of the reasons why. But the game itself, this is how close I was sitting and where I was sitting. I was in essentially the area where the players' families are, but the overall field was just astonishing to see in person. I am so grateful I was able to experience it. Really nice picture here. Just a beautiful place to play baseball. I'm not even a huge baseball fan, but it was just electric to feel the excitement in the air. Absolutely loved this. But the better part of the night, as much as I love the game, afterwards, I got to go hang out in the media truck with John to watch him do his job. And I got to say, John is a mastermind at what he does. This was amazing to watch. And I am just astonished with the level of precision and know-how that he brought to his craft. And I was thoroughly impressed. So again, publicly, I will say, John, thank you so much for everything. You made one of my days in LA just incredibly magical. You are the greatest. He even got us on TV. This is me and Brian, and I just happened to be repping Disconnected at the game. Did not expect this, but thought it was pretty funny. The next morning, I went out to brunch with Brian and a friend of ours, and I got these really good sweet potato fries as just I don't really eat breakfast, so I had this as like a snack, and it was good stuff. We hung out for a couple hours, kind of took it light and slow, and afterwards, we hung out for a little while, and I finally got to go to Howlin' Ray's, which is a big hot chicken sandwich place. And this was such a unique experience. This is their sign out front. There's some fire and then the shape of a chicken there, but that's it. There's no actual words that say Howlin' Ray's. You can't go in. This is the front of the building. You check in there with your phone, or you order online and go with Postmates, or they have somebody come out and take an order for you. This is what my order looked like. I got the hottest sandwich that they sell, and then their fries on the side, and it was very hot. I did not feel great afterwards, but that passed quickly, thankfully, so I could go see the original Michael Myers house in Pasadena, California. Now, for those that don't know, the Myers house was moved back in, I want to say 1987, from one part of Pasadena to another. This is where it now rests, right next to some railroad tracks, and I had to come see it. And this is a commercial building now. There are actually people that work in there, but you can still go like take your picture. I walked up the steps and took a picture here, as you can see. And as I was looking at the picture later, I saw this face up in the window at the top. And I did not even notice that until later. And after I took a picture of Brian standing in the same spot, I looked up and happened to see it again and got a picture of Michael Myers himself looking down on us from the window, and just thought it was the coolest touch to be able to see that they're screwing with Halloween fans still. And thankfully, right behind this place, they have what they call the Sugarmint Gallery. And there is a sign here talking about Halloween. Here's a closer look at the sign. It says, "Every day is Halloween at Sugarmint Gallery." They have Halloween memorabilia, art, and special photo ops. Spooky Kids Club exhibit is what they were doing. They also had movie nights this weekend. They were showing Halloween 2 outside on a projected screen. I really wanted to be able to go to that. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. But here is the front of the building. Kind of a cool place. A lot of art on the inside. So the cool part, we go into the Sugarmint Gallery, and the owner starts talking to us, and we brought up the fact that we saw Michael Myers over at the Myers house looking down at us. And take this with a grain of salt. I don't know that this is true, but this is what she told us. It made it more magical for me. But she said, "Do you know who that was?" And I said, "No, of course not. I'm just assuming somebody in a Michael Myers mask." And she goes, "That was Michael Dougherty, the director of Trick or Treat. He rents one of the commercial spaces, and while he's working up there, he just screws with Halloween fans that are coming to take pictures." Who knows if that's true? I would love to have that confirmed, but I thought it was hilarious. Loved that moment. Back to the Sugarmint. As we got inside, we got a closer look at the decorations outside the Sugarmint, and then on the inside, because of the Spooky Kids exhibit that they had, there was all kinds of like kids horror memorabilia. That a lot of Snoopy and Peanuts items overall. They had some these old McNugget Buddies art that they did. And then, of course, there was some really, really recognizable items that they had. This is, of course, the Scooby-Doo gang. And then more from Peanuts. And, of course, the Addams Family. Just some really great art on the inside. I really wanted to buy this Peanuts Halloween picture. Really wanted that. For those that don't know, I've got Snoopy and Woodstock tattooed on my leg. I've always loved Peanuts. They had this little replica of the Monster House. Could buy it for $1,200. A little out of my price range, but I thought it was really well made. They had some Coraline art. Some really cool things that they had here. There was a lot of original Michael Myers photos from around the area because a lot of Halloween was filmed in Pasadena. This is a screen-used prop from Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then the original proposal for Are You Afraid of the Dark? This was originally called Scary Tales, but this was the original draft of it. And again, all kinds of Halloween art on the inside and Trick or Treat and all kinds of horror franchises. These are some of their decorations outside, and then they've got more Michael Myers things on the inside. All kinds of art. Again, large exhibit. You go in the front and you pay $10. You're able to go in and look at everything else. They have all kinds of these pieces for sale. Really well made art. I wish I was rich. I would have owned most of it. It was just so well done. This is the back of the building. This is the projector where they were going to show Halloween 2 the following night. Again, wish I could have gone, but time did not allow it, unfortunately. But I did get to go see the Strode House. This is the Strode House from Halloween. Lots of overgrown greenery here. You can see a faint pumpkin in there. And when you walk back in there, there's a little basket. And it says you are allowed to pick up the pumpkin for a photo op. So I had to get my picture taken with it. I'm so glad I did this. There's so much in this area of Pasadena that is just special for Halloween fans. And I'm just glad I got to see it. This is the side of the Strode House. You do see this in the film, and it still looks very much like it does in the movie. Moving along, this is the alley, I believe at the very beginning of Halloween 2, where there's a scene with Loomis. And then a little secret here, this house on the right here, 1010, that is the house from Pretty in Pink. So I had to get a little picture of that. This is the original location of the Myers house. I mentioned earlier that it had been moved, but this is where it is. And if you notice on the left side of the screen, that shrubbery going on there, that's because that is the infamous hedge. And I had to get that picture taken, of course. And then this is around the corner. If you recognize this, this is the house from Pee-wee's Playhouse. I was so glad to get that. Yeah, so many opportunities just for some really cool filming locations in and around Pasadena. Finally, ended the night with a giant burger with my friend Jeremy Long again. This is at a place called The Counter. They had some garlic parmesan fries, giant burger that I could customize on a great pretzel bun. Yeah, really good stuff. I hope that I get to go back to The Counter again because it was stupendous. After our burger, we went to Universal Citywalk, and they had some screen-worn items from the original Jurassic Park. This was to hype up the Jurassic World Dominion, which by now a lot of people have seen and hated. This is the other screen-worn item by Laura Dern. And the movie that I watched that night at Universal Citywalk was David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. And for some people, this is a hot take, but I hated it. I thought it's one of Cronenberg's worst films. Anyways, the very next day was pretty much all dedicated to the convention, Monsterpalooza. I've got a link to that video in the description below and should be popping up at the top here. But after the convention, my night was not over. I had to go get dinner with Jeremy Long, another wonderful burger that he was trying to share with me. This is at a place called Pie and Burger. They had an incredible pie served after this. Oh man, yeah, they did some really great stuff. This little restaurant, it seemed like it hadn't been touched in 70 years. It is quaint and homey and perfect, but the only way to follow up something so classic like this was a classic double feature showing at the New Bev Cinema, where we got to see Polyester and Serial Mom from John Waters live in 35 millimeter. And it was just an absolutely wonderful way to cap this great week that I got to spend. And the next morning, I finally got to come home. Here's me with my family and my dog, Asuda. And my patrons have seen Asuda in action. But yeah, it was an incredible trip. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. I really tried to put together the best possible trip that I could. It's going to be rare that I get to do something like that. So I wanted to make the best of it. And I feel like I did. I got to do probably 85% of what I wanted to. Overall, that's a pretty damn good hit rate. So yeah, I was happy with it. After watching this, if you want to be in on some of these discussions sooner, because a lot of my patrons got to hear about all of these day by day in our Discord, the link to sign up for that is in the description below. You help in so many ways by supporting the channel if you sign up for that. I will say it's about to be the 20th of June. And if you sign up before June 20th, you are eligible to be entered in the giveaway. If you sign up at the VIP tier, we do a boutique giveaway every single month. And the packages I've sent away so far have been pretty damn incredible. And I think the patrons that have got them are very happy. The last winner happened to be John, so it was nice to be able to see him in LA. Until next time, if you have not subscribed, please click that button below. Give the video a like and share it around. I love seeing new faces on the channel. And like I always say, from one collector to all of you, have a good night.